Welcome to the Sheffield United Way match preview as we look ahead to Portsmouth visiting Bramall Lane on Saturday at 3 p.m. After bouncing back from home disappointment against Hull a couple of weeks ago, we managed to beat Derby 1-0 and are seeking to get back on form at Bramall Lane after only winning one of our last 5 games at home. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Welcome to the Sheffield United Way, and we start off recognising that it's going to be a really difficult and quite poignant day at Bramall Lane on Saturday, as we will be paying tribute to a young man, Harvey Wilgus, who really sadly lost his life in a knife attack earlier this week in Sheffield. Harvey was a huge blade, and the city of Sheffield has really come together this week to pay tribute, and that will be continuing across all of this weekend's games, I'm sure, but particularly at Bramall Lane, where we will honour the life of a huge Blades fan who is gone way too soon. We will link in the description of this video below a Just Giving page where we can help support Harvey's family at this just horrendously difficult time. It's hard to imagine what they're going through right now, but the city of Sheffield will stand with them, and hopefully that gives them some crumb of comfort through an unimaginable time. Now, we're going to transition back into talking about football, which is always difficult in this kind of scenario, but a lot has happened at Bramall Lane since 𝗵𝗿𝗿𝗵𝗍𝗔's first goal back with the Blades got us that victory at Pride Park. I'd say the game against Derby is best summed up as a functional performance that won us that game rather than anything overly exciting. But I do think one of my favourite United signings of the January window, 𝗤𝗄𝗕 was very impressive on his Blades debut, winning man of the match in a number of different publications. Since then, though, it's really got exciting because we have recruited 3 new signings, 2 of which nobody knows anything about. And I think we're a surprise to just about everybody who is associated with Sheffield United. I know Hal has done a fantastic video covering these players, looking at their background, looking at how their style of play is going to fit with the Blades. So please do go and check that out on this very channel on YouTube. So firstly, what was the business that we did? First, we filled our gap at centre-back by recruiting Rob Holding from Crystal Palace. Now, that's a signing that seems to have gone mixed reaction, shall we say, from United fans, particularly on social media, where fans are a little bit concerned that he's not quite the pedigree or the profile of player that United should have been looking for to replace 𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗄𝗏. However, he has got undoubted top-level pedigree, has played right at the top of the game for Arsenal, and he's definitely going to have a really big part to play in any success that United have between now and May. The other 2 players are more likely development signings. They've been identified by our new and exciting data-driven recruitment system, so I think it's unlikely we're going to see very much of them between now and the end of the season, but maybe I will be wrong, and maybe they will come straight into the starting 11. Spoiler alert, they're not in my predicted 11 for this game on Saturday. And I would be very, very shocked if they are in the starting 11 at any point, really, through the rest of this season. But before we get into the Blades team news, before we start looking at the view from our Portsmouth conglomerate, let me first thank our video sponsors. We are thanking 𝗵𝗵𝗃 Bar and Grill because 𝗵𝗵𝗃 is a stunning bar which is set over 2 floors. You've got 2 bars in there. You've got a separate restaurant space. You've got a luxury, unique VIP area where you can go in there with your friends for a private special night that you can have. 𝗵𝗵𝗃 really is Sheffield's ultimate social experience, and it is our designated pre- and post-match bar for all of Sheffield United's home games. It is just a short walk away from Bramall Lane, which makes it ideally situated. It's just at the entrance to New Era Square, and as I say, 5 minutes away from Bramall Lane. So it is the perfect place to do your pre-match engagements. Now, on to the team news, and there's a few questions, I think. There's a few questions that need to be answered going into this game at the weekend. We look at that midfield, and that seems to be the key area, I think. That's where all the questions are coming in. You know, is Tom Davies going to be back fit? Is 𝗍𝗍𝗫 going to come back into the first team? Is 𝗤𝗄𝗕 going to keep his place in the squad after being really impressive at Derby? Will GUS 𝗤𝗲 potentially for the first time this season, or at least the first time from the start this season, drop back into that midfield too? And will he be the answer to who plays alongside Vinny Souza? Tom Cannon, he set up 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗃 goal against Derby with some really nice play. And it looks like he's probably going to have an extended run at being United's first choice number 9. But again, with Tyrese Campbell back fit, with him starting to look like he's ready to start games of football again, It's not a bad problem to have. Now, I am predicting that United are going to stick with what we've seen for the rest of the season. I'm not expecting drastic changes. I think we're going to see Cooper in goal, a back four of Clark, Ernell, Robinson and Burrows. I think we will stick with Souza and Chowdhury in the centre of midfield, and that means we will likely see 𝗍𝗲 coming, I think, off the right-hand side rather than the left where he's been for the rest of the season. I think 𝗍𝗏 will continue in the number 10 role, with Brereton Diaz coming off the left. Of course, all behind Tom Cannon at centre forward. However, while that would be my predicted 11, from our Patreon, I have received a very controversial shout, which I thought it was worth exploring with you, the viewers and the listeners. He thinks that we might roll back the years, get a blast from the past and play 5-3-2. Statman Adam has predicted Cooper in goal, a back three of Ernell, Holding and Robinson, with Clark and Burrows pushed forward as wing-backs. He thinks we will still see that deep midfield of Souza and Chowdhury, providing the cover behind those wings. And then we will have 𝗲𝗏 as a gus 10, with Ben Brereton Diaz and Tyrese Campbell starting at centre forward. It's only 2 players changed from my predicted 11, but quite a significant 2 and a massive change to a system that has been so successful so far this season. Let us know in the comments, do you think we will see a system change, or do you think we're going to stick to the tried and tested ideas that we've seen so far this year? Who do you think is going to be in Sheffield United's starting 11 this weekend against Portsmouth? Now, to introduce our Portsmouth team news, to give us the view from Portsmouth and what they're looking like and how they've set up so far this season, we are handing over to our good friends at 4-0 written all over it.
Hello to the team at Sheffield United Way. Thank you very much for having me, giving you a little bit of insight on the badges quite far down on this jumper. On the Mighty Blues, headed up to Bramall Lane. It will be my first visit to Bramall Lane. We haven't won at Bramall Lane since I believe it's 1955, so nearly 70 years. Is that going to change on Saturday? I don't think so. I think you are probably the best team in the Championship. You've continued to strengthen in January, bringing in Premier League quality left, right and centre. I think you are one of very few clubs in this division whereby you can actually say with your chests that you have some of the best players in their respective positions in this division. So I'm going to counteract all that though by saying that we'll come up there with no fear. It's almost a free hit for us. It's a place that, yes, we haven't won very much at recently, and actually we've not really won anywhere away from home recently. Our last win on our travels came back at QPR in the sort of mid to late part of October, so there was autumnal sunshine around at the time. We've gone through the bleak midwinter with no away wins. Our home form is great, our away form is not an awful lot. In terms of injury news or team news to tell you about, the returning Conor Shaughnessy is great, a great plus point for us in terms of defensively. We have 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗄 on loan from Sunderland. Now will he feature? Messino thinks he's a real coup that we've got him, so hope to see him play. I would look out for Bagsman, 𝗏𝗏 as our number 9 up top. Josh Murphy has some serious pace down the left wing, and one of my favourite players is actually our right back, Zach Swanson. Hope he starts. He's got that little bit of class and flair and composure for such a young man at right back, so yeah, look out for him. Thank you for having me. Hopefully that covers pretty much every base. Don't expect a lot. If it's less than 2 or 3-0, I think it's probably a good day at the office for us in terms of the scoreline to you, not to us. But because I'm a Pompey fan, coming on our opposition channel, I want to say we're going to sneak it 1-0 Pompey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for that. Now we will be moving on to our referee. Now the referee for this game at the weekend is Oliver Langford, a name that I know a lot about and who I think brings me out in a cold sweat, but I have absolutely no reason why. Looking at his season so far, he's had 19 matches in all competitions where he's issued 70 yellow cards, 2 reds and given 5 penalties. He's refereed Portsmouth 3 times so far this season, of which they've lost 2 and drawn 1. United have a slightly better record. He last refed us in our 2-0 home defeat to Burnley, but he also refed our 2-0 away win at Blackburn. So at least we have won 1 out of 2, but it's not exactly great reading for fans of either club in terms of our records when we've had Oliver Langford in the black in the middle. Now, after the referees, we always go through our player connections, and our player connections are brought to you by 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹𝗏 are a virtual band, and many of their members are huge Sheffield United fans. Please do go and check out 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹𝗏 patreon.com. Their latest album is outstanding. It is called Tall Tales of 10 Girls. We would recommend it to anybody who asks, and not even just because they're sponsoring us. I would recommend it to you anyway, because it really is just that good. Now, in terms of our player connections, we have 4 players who have played for both, and I am starting with an old favourite. The 𝗤𝗏𝗏 derby is once again upon us, and he has to be shouted out here because he had his largest successful period of his career when playing for Portsmouth. He scored 9 goals in 32 loan appearances. His permanent transfer when he joined Portsmouth was less successful and saw him fail to score in 12 appearances, and he had a very forgetful period at Bramall Lane. Another player who maybe had a better spell with Portsmouth than he did with Sheffield United is 𝗤𝗍𝗏. He was Portsmouth's Player of the Year back in 2013 after joining them from the Blades following our relegation to League One from the Championship. Former United and Portsmouth captain Michael Doyle is another who played for both. He spent 2 years at Portsmouth after leaving United, where he had made 188 appearances and been a fantastic servant of the club as we were trying to get out of League One, but we were unsuccessful while Doyle was with us. Now, the final one, and at last we get to talk about somebody who was better for the Blades than he was for Portsmouth, albeit that he was still great for Portsmouth. He joined United after being named Portsmouth's Player of the Year in 2017 when United were newly promoted to the Championship, and he went on to become an absolute club legend at Bramall Lane. I would say, for my money, he was the best left-back in the country in 2019-20 season before the COVID break. He was that good. He was on another level. He scored United's goal of the season that year. He was a key part of the team that had risen all the way to the top of the Premier League. And so, outstanding player. It's a shame what happened after COVID, but should rightly be remembered as one of the absolute best we had during that period. If you can think of any more, if I've forgotten any obvious ones, if there's better picks out there, do tell me in the comments below. And finally, we come to our score predictions. Now, if you want your score prediction to be shouted out, to be shared as part of this video, and you get a whole host of other benefits, including access to a fantastic WhatsApp chat where we're always talking about Sheffield United, please go to patreon.com/𝗏𝗏𝗏 because it really helps us to continue and really helps us to be able to bring what we hope is really valued content to everybody who is out there watching or listening to this video. Now, what have the Patreons said about this game? Well, they've been very, very confident is the answer. Oscar, Lewis, David, Laura, Ray, Matt, Gabriel, Jono, Mr. Paul, and the manager himself in good nick. They all think that Sheffield United are going to win this game 3-0. That is the most popular prediction coming out of that group chat. Hal thinks it's going to be a 1-0. Jack, James, Robin, they all agree with Hal, albeit that Robin deserves a huge shout out because he predicted a barnstormer of a game. He thinks that this will be a repeat of a clash back from December 1986, which saw United beat 8-man Portsmouth by the end of the game 1-0. June has gone for a 2-0 win, and that's the second most popular. Lee was agreeing, Chris agreed, Will.I.am, not that one, Gary, Sharon, Maury, they all went for 2-0, and then we had an assortment of other predictions that came in, ranging from 1-1 up to a massive 7-0 home victory. They clearly have caught whatever Leeds was on last season and want us to try and catch them up. They want us to match what they did in their game against Cardiff. Thank you to everybody for their predictions, for being part of this massive group that we've managed to pull together, which is outstanding. 3 of the people who we had in there think that 𝗣𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏 not only will get off the bench for United, but they all think he's going to score on his debut. I, myself, am going with Robin's prediction. I think 1-0 home win. It's going to be a little bit similar to Derby, where it's a battle. It's not inspiring, but it's a great result. Another home clean sheet, and that is exactly what we want to see at this stage of the season. Thank you so much for watching this video, for listening to this video, for just spending this little bit of time with me, prepping the game at the weekend. I'm quite excited for this one. I want to get to Bramall Lane at the moment. I think it's an exciting time to be a United fan. Thank you again. Up the Blades.
𝗚𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏